Years, some of the largest corporations in the world have padded their profits by hiding fees and trapping people in subscriptions they do not want. Whether it's Amazon engineering an Iliad flow to trap its customers, Uber and Grubhub hitting New Yorkers with hidden fees, or Ticketmaster sneaking charges onto tickets where fans are already paying too much for, ripping off the people of the city has become a business model for far too many companies.
Welcome back to Inside City Hall. That was Sam Levine, the new commissioner for the city's Department of Consumer and Worker Protection. He formerly served as the director of the Federal Trade Commission's Bureau of Consumer Protection. Now he will be tasked with enforcing workplace and consumer safeguards here in the city. Earlier this week, he joined Mayor Mamdani in signing 2 executive orders aiming to protect New Yorkers by cracking down on so-called junk fees and other deceptive business practices. And Commissioner Levine joins me now here in studio to talk about all of that and much more. Welcome to the program. Thank you for joining us.
Great to be here.
So we'll talk about junk fees, but first, let me ask you how you ended up in this job, because you're not a native New Yorker. You were in D.C. for many years with the FTC. Were you drawn to the Mamdani campaign, or did they, call you up and recruit you? How did this happen?
I'll be honest, Bobby, I moved to New York because I wanted to live in New York. I moved here in June. I told my partner this is going to be a little break from government for a little while till we'll see what happens in 2029. But when Mayor Mamdani was elected, I was so excited by his vision, and I jumped at the opportunity to serve the people of New York.
And you worked with Lina Khan, of course, who was the head of the FTC and developed sort of a national profile for going after some big corporations. She was part of the Mamdani transition team. I assume that maybe she had something to do with recruiting you to the job.
I don't know what happened behind the scenes, but I can tell you that I worked with Lina Khan closely for many years. I think she's probably been one of the most effective regulators we've seen in the history of Washington, D.C. And if I can bring half that energy to the city of New York, I think it'll be a very good outcome for the people of the city.
So you worked on consumer protection on a national level, obviously going after huge multinational corporations. Now you're going to be working on a local level, and in some cases dealing with very small businesses, right? Corner bodegas and those kinds of places. What is the challenge going to be like, and what is the difference going from the FTC to working on a municipal level?
Well, it's certainly true that DCWP has jurisdiction over small businesses like our bodegas, but my focus is really on taking on the biggest corporations ripping off the people of the city. Whether it's ripping off the workers who make our city run, the deliveristas who get our food delivered and too often are underpaid or lose their jobs with no due process, renters who are being ripped off with junk fees, consumers being gouged by algorithmic pricing. The same corporations that we sued at the FTC are the corporations ripping off the people of this city, and we need a leader in City Hall, and we have that in Mayor Mamdani, willing to take them on, and I hope that DCWP is going to play a key part in that.
Talk about junk fees and these subscription traps. What are some of the most egregious examples? I mean, you mentioned some of them in that soundbite that we heard, and what can the department do to go after the offenders?
We see all sorts of junk fees, whether you're buying concert tickets and you suddenly see a processing fee, service fees, pest fees in apartment buildings when the buildings are already supposed to take care of the pests. That's in the law. These are fees that companies hide from people until the last minute, often fees that are illegal in the first place. And one of the things I made clear alongside Mayor Mamdani earlier this week was that these fees are already illegal under New York law. The city of New York prohibits deceptive practices. What we need is a city government willing to enforce the law, willing to take on the biggest corporations of the world if they're ripping off the people of this city, and that's exactly what we're going to do at DCWP.
You mentioned Amazon, and you actually mentioned a term that I had to look up because I didn't know what it was, the Amazon Iliad flow. Yeah. That has to do with canceling your Prime subscription, right? How does that work?
Yeah, exactly. When I worked for Chair Khan, we sued Amazon for making it deliberately difficult for people to cancel their subscriptions to Prime and actually enrolling people in Prime without their consent. Amazon just agreed to pay $2.5 billion with the B dollars to resolve those charges. But I think what this shows is that this is not just small-time scammers ripping off the people of this country and the people of this city. These are some of the largest, most sophisticated corporations in the world making conscious decisions that rather than following the law and treating their customers with respect, they're going to rip people off and squeeze every dime they can. We need to put a stop to that. We no longer have a federal government that's going to stand up for consumers. We need a city government that's going to stand up for consumers.
And as far as jurisdiction, what can you do on a city level that's not already being done? Because it would seem there's some overlap between federal enforcement, the city, state attorney general, Letitia James has taken on a lot of these types of cases. So how do you sort of divide that up?
Well, there's certainly overlap, but I want to be clear. We no longer have a federal government, as I said, standing up for consumers. Consumer Financial Protection Bureau has been gutted. The FTC, both Democrats, have been fired. Thank goodness in the state of New York, we have the best attorney general in the country, in Letitia James. But there is a lot of work to be done. There is a lot of fraud happening in the city, a lot of deception happening in the city. And if you're a business that's targeting the people of the city, we have jurisdiction for the most part, and we're prepared to take action if you're ripping people off.
And worker protection, also obviously a big part of this. You've spoken about the 80,000 deliveristas here in the city. And there are laws to protect them, some of which have been passed just in the past few years by the city council. Is it a matter of enforcing those laws that are already on the books?
Exactly. New York has some of the strongest laws in the country protecting our workers, especially our deliveristas. We have more laws coming online in 2026, including higher pay for many deliveristas, new protections against deactivations, making sure consumers are able to tip their deliveristas. But we need an agency willing to enforce them. We need to turn the page on the era when the biggest corporations can get special favors from City Hall because they know who to call or they know who to pay off. And we need to enforce the law without fear of favor. So I really want to make sure that these large companies aren't squeezing our workers just as they're squeezing our consumers. And we're going to enforce the law even if it means on taking on some really big bad actors.
So DCWP has been doing this work for years, of course. Are things going to be different now? Obviously, Mayor Mamdani has made affordability and cost of living his main focus. How does that inform the direction of the department?
Well, the mayor has committed to doubling our budget, which will pay huge returns to the people of the city. Investing in DCWP is investing in returning money to working people, whether it's consumers ripped off by junk fees or workers facing deactivation. But I also want to be clear that even with the resources we have, I think there's a lot more we can do to make the city more affordable for people. We have it within our toolkit to take on junk fees. We have it within our toolkit to take on subscriptions that people can't cancel. We have it within our toolkit to take on landlords that advertise one rent only to charge a lot more with fees. So there's a lot we can do with the tools we have. And one of my focuses at the FTC was figuring out what can we do to make life more affordable for the American people. And I'm going to bring that same attitude to making life more affordable for the people of the city of New York.
Sam Levine, the new commissioner of the Department of Consumer and Worker Protection. A lot of work ahead of you. Thanks for spending some time with us.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me.